Have you ever felt you're just going through the motions, stuck in a rut, unsure how to break free? This is the point where grit and determination, when left unchecked, can get you into some real trouble. Coming up, I'm going to share 3 lessons I learned from my business career and from the Ironman that are going to help keep you from getting stuck in life. And while my business career is what provided an income for my family, it's my triathlon career that became my fountain of youth, that became the great regulator to make sure that all 4 pillars of my resilience stayed in check. So let's jump into that. As a midlife dad, you're burning the candle at both ends. You've got kids to take care of. You've got a mortgage to pay for probably. You've got all kinds of demands being put on your time. And now somebody's coming in and asking you to be self-motivated to do something else. Maybe it's diet, maybe it's exercise. It's really hard to stay focused and to stay motivated when you've got so many pressures on you. So what I'm here to tell you about today is how I went through the same journey, where I got into trouble, what I learned from that experience, and how I'm committed to not having that happen again. So the first thing I want to talk about is metrics, KPIs in the business world. Simply, it's the proof of what you're doing every day and is it moving you forward. So I'm going to give you 2 examples. The first story I'm going to give you is an easy one, and it's a good metaphor. This is when I was swimming in my last Ironman in Mont Tremblant. So on the swim course, you start at 7 o'clock in the morning and the sun's barely coming up. And the sun's glistening across the water. And at some point, at the beginning of the swim, you're swimming away from the sun. So it's easy to see the markers in the water. It's easy to swim in a straight line. But then you turn and you come back into the sun towards the beach. And those last 2 kilometers, the sun's in your eyes. And if you don't have a point to fix on, it's really easy to swim off course. And I ended up swimming off course. While everybody was going straight, I was going to the left until all of a sudden I picked my head up and looked, and I was almost on shore. I had swum so far off course. And had I not picked my head up and looked around, I probably would have swam into this guy's beach over here and almost not even finished the swim. But at some point, you've got to pick your head up and you got to make sure you're still going in the direction you want to go in. So that's the metaphor I wanted to use when it comes to grit and determination. Sometimes putting your head down and just doing the work and leaving that unchecked can get you into some real problems, some real trouble. Now let me use a business case, a business story for you. I used to own the brands Hockey Mom and Hockey Dad in Canada. I owned those brands when I was 40 years old, and I used to sell my products to 2 of the largest big box stores in Canada. And I was doing really well. We were selling out every single year. And one year I inherited a new buyer at one of my big box stores. And that was around 2006. And we were just on the horizon of the financial crisis of 2007, 2008. And our orders had been doubling every year. Now, back in the day, the way that you manufactured a private label line for a retailer was you would go and you would build an inventory based on the forecast that they gave you, and then you would ship during the buying season from that forecast to their central distribution location, and then they would ship it out to their stores across the country. Now, every year, we had sold out. Everybody loved our product. This is Canada. Everybody loved a Hockey Mom, Hockey Dad product. But this year, because of the financial crisis that was coming up, I inherited a new buyer. And that new buyer didn't want to have any private labels in their store. They just wanted to have the Nikes and the Reeboks of the world in their sporting goods section. So what they did was they sabotaged our business from the inside. And I'll tell you how that happened at the end of the story. But what I did was I went and I built the inventory. I leveraged that cost of the inventory against my home, as I always did, because we sold out every year, so it seemed like a guaranteed thing. But when the buying season came and went and my inventory was still in the warehouse in Toronto, I refused to pick my head up and go, there's a problem here. I mean, yeah, obviously I called and I said, hey, what's going on? But the buyer lied to my face and said, no, everything is good, don't you worry, the orders will come. Well, the buying season came and went. Not a single unit went out the door. But according to the agreement that I had with this company, I wasn't allowed to contact the stores directly to find out what the problem was. So while I was looking at the proof, I could see the metrics were showing the wrong numbers. I was stuck in denial that there was a real problem. I stayed stuck for over a year. I sat on that inventory for over a year till the next buying season came. That almost put me into bankruptcy. Having all that money being leveraged against my house, I almost lost my home. I was within about 4 weeks of going bankrupt. And I finally thought, well, what's the worst thing that could happen if I start calling the stores to figure out what the heck is going on? At that point, I reached out to one of the stores. It took about 3 calls, 3 stores that I had to get through to finally get to one of the store managers. I explained to him the story. He said, yeah, I remember your product. I used to bring it in all the time. I said, well, why aren't you bringing it in anymore? And he said, well, let me look on the computer and see. And unbeknownst to me, he said, well, I can tell you what the problem is right now. He said, you've doubled your price. Why would I bring this into my stores? And I said, well, what are you talking about? I haven't doubled my price. I haven't touched my price. I haven't changed my price in 5 years. And he said, well, I can tell you right now, your price went up in our system by double last season. That's why we didn't bring anything into your store. And I explained to him that, what had happened, and I hadn't changed my pricing. And I explained that I inherited this new buyer, and he told me everything was fine. And he said, I'm going to give you a phone number. So he gave me a phone number to the vice president of the company. Now, before I called the vice president of the company, I want to talk about the consequences of inaction. Okay? If the proof, whatever you're doing, whatever challenge you're setting yourself to, whether it's you're trying to improve yourself in business, whether you're trying to improve yourself in fitness, whether you're trying to improve your financial picture, your friends, whatever, your whatever pillar of resilience you're trying to change. If you get stuck in denial, even though you're looking at the numbers, if the numbers aren't favorable, if you get stuck in inaction, you're going to get left behind and bad things are going to happen. That's the consequence of inaction. Bad things happen. If you neglect your finances, you will go broke. If you neglect your career and your ability to continually learn, you will become redundant at your company, meaning you're not going to be you're not going to be the employee they're going to want to keep around. If you refuse to pay attention to your health and well-being, you may have a heart attack one day down the road because of all the stress of all the activity that you've taken on in your life. In my case, what happened was I called the VP of the company. I explained what had happened, and he immediately bought up whatever inventory I had remaining to try to make things right. But the problem was the damage had been done, and I hadn't paid attention enough. I got stuck in denial. I started falling behind almost to the point where I couldn't fix the problem. I had neglected my business. I had neglected my responsibility to my family to protect my business. I had neglected my health and well-being. I had neglected my finances, all because I had my head down and I thought, if I stick it out, if I'm determined, I'm going to make this right. Sometimes in life, you've got to realize that the grit and determination, if left unchecked, can march you right off a cliff. And even though you think you're going in the right direction, if you refuse to pick your head up and look around every now and then, that's exactly what might happen. So the lesson that I wanted to share with you today is there can be too much grit and determination in your life if it's left unchecked. So just to recap, whatever goal you've set for yourself, you need to know what the proof is, the KPIs, the metrics. What is the proof that you need to see that you're moving forward, right? That's number 1. Number 2, don't get stuck in denial when the numbers aren't favorable. Pick your head up and try to figure out what's wrong. Because if you keep going down the same road that's not working with grit and determination, you are going to burn out. Bad things are going to happen, and bad things do happen to good people. So I'm just trying to share my personal experience with you. And I will say this, that in all of that story, I neglected my health and well-being, and I realized that if my heart stops beating, I'm dead, and I'm of no use to anybody. So when I think about self-motivation, when I think about resilience, to me, there's 4 pillars to resilience. There's physical resilience, that's my well-being, my physical well-being. There's personal resilience, that's the relationships of the people that I have around me. There's my financial resilience, which is, do I have enough money to live, and will I be able to retire one day? And there's my professional resilience, which is, am I continuing to learn in my profession so that I am an employee or a business person that's moving forward? Am I of value, or am I stuck in old school thinking? Today, this is day 10. Day 10 of our 30-day challenge. Every day, I'm going to be sharing a different little piece of information with you that has something to do with self-motivation, because self-motivation is a very complicated topic. It can be very simple, but it can also be very complicated because life happens. Life gets in the way. And if you don't recognize the signals, if you don't recognize the triggers that might be telling you you're headed down the wrong path, that can cause real trouble. I'm just trying to help you folks learn from the mistakes that I made so that maybe you don't have to make the same mistakes. I know we all learn by making mistakes, but boy, some of them are more painful than others. So again, at the end of the day, if you are, looking at self-motivation and thinking, all I need is grit and determination and I'll get to where I want to go to, I will caution you. I will say, yes, I agree, but I will caution you to pick your head up every now and then, look at the metrics, and learn to pivot when necessary. Because if you don't pivot when necessary, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble. So remember, to be self-motivated, we need that social incentive, that community of people. And right here in this video, that's what we're going to be talking about tomorrow, is community. But we also need to have the immediate reward, which is our check marks, and we need to see proof of progress. So we're at day 10 of our 30-day challenge. There's 20 more days to come with 20 more lessons that I've learned that are going to help you with your self-motivation to keep moving forward towards the goal that you've set for yourself. If you like this video, give me a like, give me a thumbs up, consider subscribing. This channel is for dads who are going through real life. And it's not easy. It's not always going to be easy. But if you have a place that you can go to and realize that you're not alone in your struggles, and that's what this channel is about. It's about community. I'm here to try to make sure that you can become more resilient in your life so that you can enjoy more health and happiness in your life. That's the bottom line. And if that sounds good to you, please continue to watch the videos, consider subscribing, share with any of your friends, leave a comment below if you have any questions. Would love to connect with the people who are watching these videos so that we can all learn and share together. Thanks everybody, have a great day, and we will see you in the video tomorrow.